Principles of Human Farming. Welcome to the farm, mind where you step. By Clif. Hi. Welcome to the farm, mind where you step. Anxiety. A general daily state of low-level anxiousness. A vague feeling of something coming from the future, as in a sense of pending doom. Depression. A pervasive mental attitude dominated by negative thoughts, and negative emotions being applied to all thinking, coloring all decisions and perspectives. All thinking affected by the inability to anticipate positive change in the future. Mind fog. Inability to think completely and clearly. Inability to sustain thought. Lost thoughts, mental confusion, poorly formed thoughts, inability to sustain effort to reach conclusions. Addiction. The general tendency toward addictive behavior built around any and all physical responses that relieve the daily state of anxiety and dread. The addictive behavior includes non-physical, perceived triggers of bodily relief responses. These can include religion, government, ideology, and tribalism. Body malformation and maloperation. The generalized state of operating with less than optimal bodily functions. Hormones poorly formed, or incompletely formed. Body formation incomplete, or interrupted. Daily biochemical operation impaired to the point of creating persistent disease conditions. The above is a partial listing of the effects on humans from an inadequate gut microbiome. These are just the major categories. A complete listing would run into the tens of thousands of identified health problems and states, including such as autism and cancer, and all forms of mental illness. We all know these states of ill health, if not personally experienced, then just from the constant barrage of big pharma advertising around them. It is safe to say without the possibility of refutation, that all aspects of human life, both individually and collectively, even up to the level of the society itself, are directly controlled on a daily basis by the state of general health of the individual's gut biome. There is no aspect of your life's history that has free of impact from your gut bacteria. In a very real sense, your gut bacteria control and direct your life. In a much more real sense, the lack of certain gut bacteria, such as those producing the effects listed above, allow your mind and life to be controlled. The lack of specific gut microbiome bacteria strains affect your ability to generate and sustain willpower. It's complicated. It arises from the microbiochemistry involved in cell mitochondrial interactions as well as sustaining biochemical transfer layers in your various systems, most frequently impacting the shared resources of the vagus nerve complex. Lack of the L-reuteri, 96% of humanity no longer has this major, systemic control, and mind enhancement bacterium, and L-Gasseri strains, and others, will degrade the ability of the vagus nerve in its functions, thus impacting all the connected major organ systems. As stated, it's complicated. The main premise here is not that complex, that is, that the invading force of space aliens needed to turn the wild humans into something more domesticated such that we could be more easily harvested for the biochemical treasures that our vagus nervous system creates. Further, the premise is that the space aliens started tinkering with our genetics, much as we do with cattle, to produce their domesticated version of a human. This necessitated that they first establish control of the wild humans, and to do that, this premise argues, they set about depriving their human stock of several specific strains of gut bacteria. Then they started their GMO operation on the wild humans, using a CRISPR-like device that burnt out the existing gene array, chromosome, at J2E-J3 junction, thus reducing humans from 24 to 23 chromosome pairs. The space aliens fucked up. They were aiming to make us dumb, and complacent, much as we have done to cattle. It is stated that domesticated cattle are about only a third as smart as their wild cousins. That was the goal of the space aliens, a dumb and complacent humanity that would be easily harvested. Their problem was that they also were trying to increase aspects of our biochemistry and physiology. They were harvesting adrenochrome from our vagus nervous complex, and its specific, inner abdominal fats, storage, structures. They wanted us to produce more adrenochrome, and to store more, thus more fat cells in between the organs in the abdominal cavity. Apparently the space aliens could not have it both ways. Their attempt to get humans to produce more adrenaline to be oxidized into their drug, adrenochrome, worked, but it also produced a tendency towards smarter, more perceptive humans. Oops! After many failed experiments with hominids, the space aliens, due to developing circumstances, ended their GMO efforts. They were content with our productive capacities, but still needed their control over the herd such that we would not panic en masse at harvest season. That is when their mind control system was developed and put into place on their human farm. First thing that the space aliens did was to instruct their cattle on what could not be eaten. Many foods were restricted to humans. Further, there were restrictions placed on how the foods should be prepared, then consumed. One of the forms of scientific studies is what is called a literature review, or meta-study, in which many other studies are analyzed. This material derives from such an effort. In our literature review, it is noted that every instance of a pantheon of gods showing up in human literature has always been followed by those humans being told not to eat pork, among other items. This prohibition is so consistent as to beg for examination. Further, it cannot be explained by the diseases that can be passed from swine to humans, as we are examining a global phenomenon, and disease was not ubiquitous, nor continuous enough to explain this constant prohibition that always arises first whenever the gods are involved. The Devas of Vedic fame, the Theoi of the Greeks, the Elohim, the Anunnaki, the Baal, the Malachi, all of these pantheons, including those in Mesoamerica interacting with the Aztecs, all demanded that humans abstain from pork. One of the results of the literature review of ancient documents provides some hints that the reason, the why, of this particular food prohibition was that pork fats taint human fats, adrenaline, with a flavor that the space aliens find unpalatable. There is a body of evidence on the interactions of the space aliens and humans in a personal body presence way to support this conclusion. The other conclusion, that is that the space aliens don't care about the human herd at an individual level, is also easily supported. It is in the interests of the space aliens that we be controlled to the point that harvest is not obstructed or reduced, and that the rate of harvest is reasonably consistent over time. To that end, it is desirable from the view of the space aliens to have overly large herds of generally weakened individuals. The general state of poor health not only makes individual members of the herd more easily controlled and thus harvested, but also provides a slight increase in adrenaline production over time due to the constant stress of poor health and environmental conditions. The space alien overlords have a very sophisticated understanding of minds, mind control, biology, and environmental factors affecting each. They are equally sophisticated in understanding our social order, and as with all good managers, use the systems available for their purposes whenever possible. A key area in herd management in human farming is to stop all human advancement, and restrict wherever possible the path towards optimum health. A healthy human is not an easily controlled, nor easily harvested herd animal. In fact, for the space aliens, a healthy human is a menace. The space aliens, going back many thousands of years, including the Akkadian Empire, Sumerian, Egyptian, and other empires in Mesoamerica and Central Europe, all had the same sets of prohibitions of foods, spices, and preparation techniques. Further, these civilizations also display a consistent resemblance to each other around writing being a gift from the gods, as well as the institution of scribes whose early, primary function was recording for dissemination, the commandments of the gods. If we examine the nature of the prohibitions at a global level, we find that the space alien created cultures specifically coerced use of antimicrobial, antibacterial spices and substances. These were not for human health. These were induced into the diet to force a continuing degradation of the gut biome around specific clades of microbiota, including strains of L. reuteri. The space aliens were intent on depriving humans of both whole classes of microbiome bacteria, as well as individual strains of specific species. This was in support of the overall effort to control the human herd by domesticating our gut biome to serve their control purposes as well as to increase adrenochrome production. Other food restrictions were also commanded as they furthered the effort at mind control of the human herd. Restrictions on salt intake, going to ion control in vagus nervous system as well as neuron networks in the brain, and other essential nutrients were put into place to affect the electrical efficiency of the human body, again, thus providing a degrading factor to aid in control at individual and collective levels. Wherever is found food restrictions commanded by the gods, the space alien human farmer is revealed. We see this, even now being attempted to be introduced yet again, by the mother wefers with their whole "you will eat ze bugs" campaign. All the actions of the mother Wefers point to them acting as the managers for the space aliens of the human farm that is planet Earth. All their efforts can be summarized as being directed to getting the human herd under control, and ready to be harvested for their space alien masters. Given the literature review, and the exposure of the space alien agenda in human diet restrictions, and given the recent language and actions of the WEF, along with the associated global control network, it appears that the WEF is being pressured by the thought of their space alien masters returning to catch them with the farm in disarray. Thus they are redoubling their efforts, as we have all witnessed. And though the results are less than they expected, they will keep on with their management program, even as the herd is breaking free from their mind control. The WEF and the global control structure is desperate, and becoming more so with every day, as they think there is a owners meeting for the planet Earth human farm in the near future. Now, me? I favor the pirate model, the wild human point of view. I want to take these space aliens, and their management crew, and really fuck them up. Fight space alien control. Fix your gut microbiome. Become a better, ungovernable, human. Resistance is not useless. Humanity will achieve victory.